Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to the Clayton and James Show. Yes, the Clayton and James Show. He's back. Hello, Clayton Fernandez. How are you?
Howdy, y'all. I'm good. I'm good. Back from across the pond, back in the motherland. And yeah, it's good to be back. I've missed podding a lot this
The
summer.
motherland? Are we in Russia? Might be
No,
confused there for a moment. No
no,
one
no.
calls England the motherland, do they?
Well, that's where I'm from, so I call it my motherland.
All
Well, I
right,
guess
fair
if
enough.
I'm being true, Goa would be my motherland. So yeah, I just offended my Goan family, I guess.
All right. Don't do that personally. I don't suppose they'll be listening to you anyway. Probably don't at the best of times. Talk a little bit of transfer updates over the last 24 hours on this one. We're going to have a kind of a bigger section on predictions for the season. Clayton's brought back the Euro focus. I've got an on this day for you at the end. We're going to talk about a little bit of an issue with a Spanish La Liga match. But firstly, Clates, let's talk about you because it's in my messages regularly. Where is he? What's he doing? I hope he never comes back. Like, what's happening? Where you been, mate? What's been going on?
Well, I think we did say on like the last Clayton and James show, didn't we? But I guess for people that didn't catch that one, I was out in America for the summer. I think 2 months, pretty much. I went start of June, end of May, and I got back last Monday, and I was coaching soccer out there. So yeah, the job came up
Don't
to.
don't don't do that again.
That took me a while to adjust to because obviously out there they call it soccer, and like I kept calling it football, and I surrendered in some conversations, but like it took a lot of adjusting. But yeah, a job came up to go and coach football out in America, and it was a summer job, and it happened to align with what I'm kind of navigating at the minute, and it worked for me, and I thought it would be a cool life experience, and yeah, it was exactly that. I think coaching something that I wanted to do, and I did start doing about a year ago. So yeah, I've been wanting to do it for a while, and then the opportunity to just go live abroad. I know in my own head, like, would I have picked America? Probably not, with like some of the talking points around that country at the minute.
Careful, they might not let you back in.
Yeah, I know, but I gotta say, I really enjoyed my experience there. I think like the size and scale of the country I already knew of, but it blew my mind. Well, especially because I was driving a lot. So like I was based in Atlanta in Georgia, but then I traveled all around. I was in Louisville, Kentucky, Geneva, Ohio, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Memphis, Nashville. So like I did a lot of driving, and I think it was that those journeys that made me realize like, damn, this place is big, and like each state felt like a different country. Where like I want to say culturally they were all so different. Like when I was down south in Georgia compared to when I was slightly more north in Ohio, I was like, wow, they feel like completely different countries. I was only 2 hours from Niagara Falls one week, so I went and ticked that off as well. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I loved it. So yeah, for where I have been, I was out in America. I was coaching what we call football, what they call soccer, and like they were kind of like summer camps. So like it wasn't like a top standard or anything. A lot of them, but then there was a period where I was actually put on like an elite camp, which was within an academy in Ohio, and that was really cool. Seeing like there were UEFA qualified coaches there. There was a coach there. He was part of Sven Goran Eriksson's backroom staff and coached like Beckham and stuff. And I
Nice.
think I heard
Remember his
he,
name?
yeah, Paul. Can't remember his surname, but
It's Paul.
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, because
um,
we normally refer to people in the football world by surnames. So thanks for that, Clates.
but
Well, hello, Paul.
I can't remember what course he wrote, but he wrote one of the UEFA courses for the FA as well. So I was like,
Okay.
it was pretty cool to be able to learn from him and stuff. But yeah, coaching in general, I loved. Another aspect of like the summer which I loved was I was staying with host families quite a lot as well. So um, where you coach on a camp, if one of the parents has their kid there, there was a like financial incentive for them to host a coach. And I love that as well because like I love meeting new people, seeing a bit about their background and stuff. And yeah, it was just a really cool summer experience. And yeah, talking about potentially going back out there. So I'll find out a bit more probably over the next couple of weeks to see if there's an opportunity to go back out. I'd like to, but I don't know. A lot of things have to fall into place for that to happen. So we'll see. But yeah,
So we
absolutely
so
loved it.
we don't know yet what you're doing, essentially.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Fine. We will enjoy having you for at least the next few weeks. After that, we'll obviously have to revisit. It does mean, in the seriousness, we can't promise that the Clayton and James show is going to be part of the schedule every week going forward because we don't know what Clayton's doing at the moment, but we'll probably try and fit it into the schedule over the next couple of weeks. Couple of points. One, I went to Niagara Falls when I was a kid. It was the first time I ever thought I was going to die, actually. Was on a boat, so they take you out on a boat and take you up towards it. And I got a bit scared. I was like, is this boat going to turn around or is it just going to like keep going for it? I was a bit scared. And also, you mentioned about driving. I want to know what it was like the first time you got to a roundabout on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, so I have driven in the I have driven in the States before, but it was definitely a confusing thing the first time I approached one. I was like, oh my god! And even on the motorways or the highways as they call them, where we're like left lane, and then you kind of use the right to overtake and stuff. Like doing that in the flip, I was like, oh, I'm basically undertaking all the time at the minute. So yeah, it definitely took some adjusting, but I loved it in it. Like I love driving, and I think just like the long, I love road trips and stuff, so I really enjoyed that. And I was typically with other coaches as well, so that was good. Just having football conversations, because I think the one thing I really did miss this summer was I didn't meet many people that were as engaged in like the English Premier League to the point where like they're so caught up on the teams and like the latest news and stuff. So it was nice traveling around with other coaches from England where we could still have our kind of football fix. And obviously the Club World Cup was going on. I went and watched Bayern PSG at the Atlanta Stadium.
Oh, you
The
did go
Mercedes,
there. I said you'd go there if you can. Yeah, it's amazing,
yeah,
isn't
the
it? That
Mercedes
place.
Benz Stadium. Well, it
No?
is, but it's like it's not a football stadium. It's like it's got that arena feel to it. Like
Yeah.
it was cool, but didn't have a football stadium feel. And I don't know if this is one for this show. The voice note I sent you about the football fan loving the corner kicks at a women's game.
Can't remember that, Clates.
Okay, so my first experience of a football game in America was it was a women's game, and I went to watch because Marta was playing there. And like the ball goes up for a corner kick, and I just hear this guy. Wait, can I swear on this one? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
This
don't
is
you
fine.
don't see bomb it, mate.
No C bombs. But ball goes out for a corner kick, and I just hear this guy behind me go, "Fuck yeah, I love corner kicks." I was like, "Oh god, get him to the Emirates."
Let's go, Tottenham. Let's
Yeah,
go.
there was a lot of that. I was like, "Oh dear god," but no, overall experience, I really really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm very pleased. I can't believe that you've been away long enough. You don't know whether you can swear or not in on this podcast. I'm sure some of your conversations with some of your English counterparts out there was very much about transfers and who's moving and who's signing. Just a couple of lines of updates from the last 24 hours or so. Gianluigi Donnarumma he's not in Paris Saint-Germain's squad for the Super Cup final tomorrow night. He's essentially been outcast by the looks of it. He's got a year left on his contract, won't sign a new deal. PSG are trying to force him out. Now, there's limited places where he could go, but I would suggest for those with Robert Sanchez in their FPL teams, not that I think he will go there, but I'd be looking over my shoulder because Chelsea are one of the few clubs that could actually go and buy. I would suggest Manchester United are another. One player who's moving on from Manchester, James McAtee, looks like he's going to Nottingham Forest. Could be an intriguing one further down the line for FPL. I believe he's in at 5.5. For those who are wondering, I don't foresee that as any impact whatsoever on Elliot Anderson, if anyone's concerned about that at all. Matt O'Reilly of Brighton looks like he might be going to Juventus, was the word last night. That potentially would make Jorginho Rutter's minutes a little more secure. There has also been links about Sunderland buying a new forward, and there might be some information about that today. Danny Welbeck's name is one that's been floated as a possibility as well. If Brighton are letting both those two players go, I think you know what it means. They'll be back in the market for someone else. So it might be squad numbers still look very similar.
Was
Um,
Welbeck at Sunderland once upon a time? Did he go on
he
loan
was
there?
on loan there
Yeah.
before. Yeah, he scored in what probably Sunderland fans would possibly remember as their best Premier League result when they won 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. Asamoah Gyan certainly got at least one. I'm pretty sure Danny Welbeck got the third, and Nedum scored a mad goal for the first. We just kept
What a memory.
dribbling past people. But no one actually remembers Sunderland's 3-0 victory. You just remember Gian after he scored celebrating in the corner and Budavine Zenden trying to copy him. That's all anybody actually remembers. And that's not on this day, but I've got an on this day for you later on. Couple of lines from this morning. Firstly, Alexander Isak has supposedly told Newcastle United that he has no interest of, I'm paraphrasing here, reintegrating within the squad and no interest in playing for Newcastle United again, even if he is not sold. Clearly, they are trying to push that forward. Or he is, his camp is, and I'm sure Liverpool probably are. Newcastle, I think this is just a case of Newcastle get their business sorted out, and I think he's going to go to Liverpool.
Yeah,
That
me too.
seems really obvious to me. The only thing I could foresee that changing is if Chelsea sell enough children over the next week or so and decide to get involved in the bidding. Eberechi Eze, I suggested it on the podcast. I think he'll end this month as an Arsenal player. And I still think that's a strong possibility. Um, Big overnight words in the Tottenham ITK community that Tottenham have now made their move for Eze. What I think is particularly intriguing about it is a lot of these messages were posted while most of us would have been in bed. So I think something has moved where there's encouragement overnight. I think Tottenham want to keep really kind of close counsel about it because I think ultimately, if Eze has a choice between Tottenham and Arsenal, we will choose Clayton's team rather than mine. I don't know what the hold up is for you, Clates, or what's going on. We know that Eze's contract is complicated. There's also complications in terms of when the expiry on that release clause is. Was it the Community Shield? Is it Palace's first game on Sunday? Is it the first game of the league season Friday? Does that even matter? Is there just a negotiation point here with Crystal Palace? Tottenham's need in that position is obviously fairly urgent because of injuries to James Maddison, Dan Kulusevski. Latest I've heard on Kulusevski is that what I'd heard about him returning September, October is probably really over optimistic, and it might even be that he's not back till Christmas. And Maddison's obviously going to be out for the season. So there's an urgent need. We know Tottenham have shown an interest over the last 24 hours or so on Savinho. I have seen a line from Jack Pitt-Brooke, who is quite well connected with Tottenham, um, who has reported this morning that Manchester City don't want to sell. And as far as they're concerned, the matter is closed.
Oh wow. Okay, I hadn't seen that.
So don't know. Don't know where it's at in so, but Tottenham are obviously trying to. It's fairly obvious Tottenham was going to do stuff. Tottenham are obviously trying to get some stuff
Yeah, I think the
done.
Eze links make a lot of sense when you speak about Kulusevski and Madison's injuries, right? Like, and I don't know when you ask the question, what's taking us so long? I don't know, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up at Tottenham. To be honest, I feel like if we wanted him, we would have had him already. And the only thing I can guess is like, are Arsenal trying to haggle over the fee, unless they've got other options in mind that haven't been reported. But
I also would not surprise me at all if this window closes and Eze is still a Crystal Palace player.
yeah,
Because I think
also
we've
agree
been
with
here
that.
before, and unlike saying the example with Isak, Eze is not kicking up a fuss. He's got a good relationship with that football club. I don't think there's any desire to kind of ruin that relationship that they have. Um, so I
What's your
don't think there's
thoughts
any guarantee it happens.
on the whole Isaac saga? Because like I'm sure you've mentioned it on other pods, but obviously I've been away and stuff. Like the timing of everything when it came out, like I think they just signed Ekatike, we just confirmed Gyökeres,
Yeah.
like and obviously the update this morning was like you said, he's kind of put his foot down and refusing to play for them ever again. Like what's your thoughts on how everything's gone down there?
Very weird, but I also think there's very mixed reports. So Newcastle obviously were interested in the likes of Liam Delap, who obviously went to Chelsea, but it appears that Newcastle's sale to in terms of their selling to this player in terms of how they saw them fitting in was well, you probably take over from Isak like in 12 months or so. That seems to be the word. There's mixed reports in terms of when Isak told Newcastle. So I understand from others that I've been told that Isak really wasn't happy last summer with Newcastle because they promised him a new contract and that got put back. So you might remember he started last season quite slowly. Apparently,
Yep.
he was really unhappy to start last season. There's different reports on this. There's the reports that Isak has gone to Newcastle and told them after Ekatike has joined Liverpool, which to me feels weird. There's also reports that Isak told Newcastle at the end of the season, I want out. Whether that's who that's been told to, if someone's kept up to themselves, not briefed, say, the recruitment team or what's happened. I think there's kind of power struggles within Newcastle in terms of who's doing the transfer business and stuff at the moment. Feels a little bit complicated. So there's some mixed messaging from all around. I don't know which part of that is right and what's not, but I do know that if Isak went to Newcastle and said, I want to leave and go to Liverpool after Ekitike signed, that's weird. So I can't believe that. But then I also think not that Isak and Ekiteke can't be together, but anybody who watched the game on Sunday can already see there are similarities between
Oh,
the
very
two
much so.
players.
Yeah.
And so, but Liverpool might have also felt that their need was right, we've got to get something in for the start. We've got Newcastle and Arsenal in the first three games. We're not going to be able to get Isak probably before game two. Um, Liverpool obviously had money to spend. It's clear. They're in no problem whatsoever from a financial PSR perspective. If they sign Isak, they could buy him twice over and won't be in trouble from that perspective. So I think it gets done.
Yep. Me too.
A line from La Liga yesterday. Barcelona and Villarreal. We think he's going to get the go ahead. A La Liga match that's scheduled for December. He's going to get the go ahead to be played in Miami um, in December. First and foremost, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about it? I don't
I mean, you
like
probably
it,
don't
but
give a shit. I mean, you still
yeah,
sleep at night,
I
Clates,
was,
but
to be honest, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I couldn't give a shit. But from the angle of if that ever happens in England and to my club, I will hate it. So it'll be interesting to see what the kind of Spanish reaction is amongst the league, amongst the clubs. But I just don't like it because I think it's one of those things that's probably foreshadowing what's going to happen globally. Like there's already talks about AC Milan doing it with Como in February. I forget what country they were talking about.
in
Uh,
Australia, I think AC Milan
Australia, that
Como
was it.
was one that was speculated. Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't like that at all because I know they've done. Well, I don't know. I think they've done Copa del Rey games before, and even that was, or was it a
like their Super
final?
Cup and stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like they've kind of been heading in that direction for a while, but for a domestic league game, I just hate that. I really, really dislike it. But it's the way the game's going, I think, and like a lot of it was I could see in America this summer, just like the amount of money in the game, and it's unfortunate, but I think it's where it's heading. And unfortunately, I don't think England will be. Well, I was going to say I don't think England will be too far behind. I do think we will be far behind, but I do think it will happen. Unfortunately, what about you?
I don't think it will with
Ever?
us. I wouldn't say ever. That would be
Well, that's
fairly naive, wouldn't it? We know, I mean, it's probably nearly 20 years ago. The idea of game 39 was kind of muted, like one game in 10 different countries around the world, a whole kind of extra game week of Premier League fixtures, which is probably the second worst idea I've ever heard. In fact, it might even be a worse idea than the Super League, actually, thinking about it in more detail. I don't think we should say it should never happen. I think there's a couple of key points here. The leagues in La Liga and Serie A are very concerned about the financial repercussions versus what the Premier League clubs are earning and are trying to fight against it. Javier Tebas, who runs La Liga, for example, who's been very outspoken against several different bodies in terms of how they operate, he's for this. He has no problem with it. He's pushing for it to happen to improve kind of the globalization, the coverage worldwide in terms of La Liga. He's all for it. So if the head of the league's like, yeah, I want it openly, like Richard Masters, for example, can't come out and go, yeah, I want to have a Premier League game in America. Like he can't come out and say that. He could say it's something we might explore in the future, but fans groups, etc., would all have to be on board. Fans groups are never going to stand for it here.
no.
They're just not. Our game is different in terms of like our football pyramid. There were so many things in terms of English football and British football. I don't think you can compare with like the rest of the world, etc. In terms of our pyramid, our local communities. Me and Suj are doing a podcast on Morecambe on Money and Football today, a football club that unfortunately is days away from dying unless something happens. And I think my biggest problem of all this is that it's the sporting perspective as well. So this game is meant to be played at Villarreal Stadium. It's quite a tight stadium. I'd say it's probably one of the more difficult away venues in La Liga. This game is now scheduled to be played at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami if it gets the thumbs up. right? It now basically becomes a home game for Barcelona,
Yep.
right? How is that right from a sporting integrity via like rather than Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and all the others having to go and play at Villarreal's ground? How is that
Do
right?
do Villarreal have to agree to this for it to happen,
Of
or do
course,
they just
yeah,
have
and
no? So they would have agreed to it.
they are happy principally to give up their home advantage. So it's not like it's not a Villarreal problem. It's more I just don't like that from a sporting perspective. If we look at it and say, I don't know, name me a difficult away venue. Everton might, if you think Goodison Park historically, right? Imagine the scenario was like, oh yeah, Arsenal and Everton play in Miami, but Chelsea have still got to go to Goodison.
Yeah.
It's not right.
No, it's not at all.
It's not right. So I have big issues from a sporting perspective. I think that wouldn't go down very well. It's not something we should rule out as something that will potentially happen in the future, but I think it probably needs to be league coordinated, where everyone's going to get involved in it. I think, sack off things like the Community Shield, like the other countries have done, fine. Have that in America, in Korea, Japan, wherever you want to have it, Middle East, wherever you want it. I can't see league games being moved from the Premier League anytime soon, personally. But yeah, this is happening. What other
Out,
country want to do is up to them, but I don't like it.
yeah, outside of the money and stuff, like how much of it do you think is, we see in pre-season, like Arsenal, Tottenham played. Where did we play? Was it Hong Kong or?
Hong Kong Festival champions, you'll never sing
Yeah.
that.
Like, so we've seen that in pre-season, right? Where teams will go abroad to try and kind of appease to their global fan base. How much of it is that? And I guess being in Miami, obviously Messi plays for Inter Miami, a connection there. Like, do you think that's any factor behind it in terms of,
In terms of Messi relationship,
yeah, or
I'm
like
sure
just,
they'll probably try and get Messi to be involved somehow. I should imagine, yeah. Probably try and get him to play if they can.
yeah, just wait, when's the game? Is it after January? No, it's
December,
December.
isn't it?
I was
So
going to say, could they get him on loan for a
yeah,
month?
I mean, it's interesting that there's actually is I think there's an NFL game planned at that stadium for the same weekend. I read, so you're probably even gonna have to move the date of it and stuff. So yeah, if it's from a sporting integrity perspective, I'd
Yeah,
Barca win the
get
league
him
by
a
two
bit.
points and Real Madrid lose away to Villarreal. Like that's not right. It's
No.
dirty.
Yep.
That's how I feel about
It's
it.
interesting that there's only one fixture for the whole season that's being done abroad, though. I thought,
Well, once
do
it's won, the doors will open, won't they?
you think floodgates next year? Then
Yeah,
surprised
yeah.
Madrid aren't all over that.
Well, it's worth noting in terms of the Club World Cup, like all of Madrid's games were packed. All of them. There were some high profile teams playing some other games, and there was plenty of empty seats and stuff. Not when Real Madrid played.
Yeah.
So those two Spanish clubs obviously will have very heavy support out in America. Let's do some season predictions. A bit
Oh,
chilled out
I
vibe.
hate this stuff
Well,
because then it's all going to come back to get clipped, isn't it?
you didn't come back with, Tottenham are going to win the league. You didn't come back with a better suggestion of a topic, mate. So that's your
No, I
problem.
know,
So,
I know.
right, go on then. First and foremost, are Arsenal going to win the league, mate?
I don't think we are a
I don't care
million
what you
miles.
think. I'm going to predict you to do it again because I keep doing that and you keep finishing second. So I'm going to
Okay, yeah.
continue.
No, what I was going to say is I think Liverpool are understandably are they odds on like that? Well, they're definitely favourites.
No, I'll have a quick check while you're talking, but
Okay,
not the favourites, yeah.
yeah, Liverpool understandably are favourites, but I think a lot of the conversations I've found myself having are like Liverpool are going to run away with it, and I think that's the only thing I don't quite subscribe to, in my opinion. I do think there are not flaws, but like potential vulnerabilities, like any team that could be exploited with Liverpool. But I do think that is me very much like glass half full nitpicking and stuff, because like what they've added in terms of their firepower is absolutely terrifying. And like you and I have said, we both think Isaac will end up there. So if I had to predict based on like probability, I do think Liverpool will win the league. I don't know. There's an element of me that's like, if Liverpool don't win it, and I guess this will come on to another conversation. I'm not quite there with City, in my opinion. And then I'm like, oh well, could we do it? Could if we get our shit together like we had in the back end of 22, 23, we've added Gyökeres, Zubamendi, I think will be quite important to us. If we have some better luck with availability, like could we put a campaign together where we go 86, 87 points onwards again? I think we could with the right factors falling into place. So if I had to predict it right now, I do think Liverpool, but I don't think it's going to be them steamrolling it and running away with it like some of the conversations I've been having with some people. What about you? Where's your head at with it? And do you think City will be back amongst it?
I definitely think City can and could, and I think it probably will be back amongst it. I don't think they'll win it.
Me too.
Um, I think the Rodri news over the last few days is disastrous,
Yep.
actually. I
What's
think that,
is there a timeline on that?
yeah, I mean, he could be back as early as sort of the Manchester Derby in game week 4, but I think considering there was a real concern in terms of building him up slowly, like he's not going to come back in September and then be playing every game constantly over a period when Champions League's starting. Who knows what City's Champions League fixtures are going to look like? Could have a real big bearing on that. There'll be a psychological for them that they very nearly pissed it out the wall and nearly went out in the group stage
Mm-hmm.
last year. So I think City, from a numbers perspective, are in a far, far stronger position. So if they suffer injuries badly, like they did last year, it won't be as bad.
Do
The,
you know
the,
what?
the squad depth has been sorted out, like, well, I think, but I don't know if it's to the next level. And I think Rodri is the best in the world at what he does. That's huge.
Yeah, I just what the reason I'm not so keen on them this season is, in my opinion, a lot of their vulnerabilities and weaknesses last year were, you and I spoke about it early. Like, remember that Bournemouth prediction you gave way back when? Like, it's transition running through them. And I don't see, like, and even defensively, they look weak, in my opinion. I don't see anything that has come in that's made me think, okay, defensively and managing transitions, they've got stronger. Sure, offensively, I think they've added some real talented players, but that wasn't the issue, in my opinion. So I do think they'll score a lot of goals and be maybe a bit more fluid. But I do think defensively there'll be games where we're looking at them and thinking, oof, not sure about that. And I think there's a lot of pressure on, well, even now with his injury, Rodri coming back and performing to the level that he was when he won the Ballon d'Or. So I don't know. I'm not quite there with them. Like, not, and when I say not quite there, I mean to the point of them winning the league. I think they'll still be consistent enough to solidly challenge up until maybe March. But I think they'll fall just short, in my opinion.
Update on that potential line that was being reported about Jack Pitbrook saying City considers Savinho to Tottenham as matter closed. Apparently now that's fake news. So this is the problem with the transfer window, right? Sounds like he's been misquoted. So still every chance that that's a deal that may still happen.
I
Sorry.
think that's a really good one for Spurs if that happens.
The only thing I'd say about that is, I spoke about it a little bit yesterday, he was a big underperformer in terms of data last season. I think he had like the worst conversion rate in Europe actually in terms of shots to goals. But we are struggling with players who are going to hit us double figures for goals, and I'm not convinced Kudos is going to be one. I'm not convinced that he would be one. Scoring goals is a little bit of a concern for me at the moment. My team certainly won't be involved in the title race. I think I have concerns about Liverpool defensively. I also have a little bit of a concern on their end of season, which is hard to know how much it matters or it doesn't because they had it in the bag so comfortably for so long. But I think to switch back on and having to be winning every week might be a little bit of a challenge. I think if they lost Van Dijk to injury, there's concern that there's Kanate, Gomez, and then does it fall back onto like Gravenberch or Endo playing centre back? You, I think, Clates, your team's in a position now to be able to pick genuinely from 22 strong players. I think now if you miss a Saka, like a Madareki there is obviously much better than what your options were last year. Ethan Wanyeri is obviously a year more experienced. The depth across the team looks much stronger, even to the extent of, say, Christian Mosquera joining in at centre back. But there is still a layer between the most important players and a bit of a drop off. And I think ultimately we'll probably sit here in May and it may well be decided by injuries.
Possibly.
Last year, ultimately, we can't know if it would have been any different if Saka and Odegaard had been fit for the whole season, right? We don't know.
I still think Liverpool would have done it, but it would have been a lot closer for sure.
Yeah, but then it might have been more pressure on Liverpool because you might have been closer, and who knows, it might have been different. I agree with you, by the way. I think yes, it probably will be between Liverpool and Arsenal. I think if Liverpool get it right defensively, there is more reliability on their firepower than your team at the moment,
Yeah, agree. I
which
think I still
means
need to
it's more
see.
likely to go to 7, 8 wins in a row, the number you never got near last year in terms of having
Yeah,
a run like that. You were, I don't think you won more than 3 games in a row all season, wasn't that the
yeah,
stat?
something like that. And that's the
But
thing.
then
It's like,
Liverpool's wasn't that high either. But they were like win four, draw, win four. That's how they were rolling.
yeah, I think the thing that's really lacking in my confidence to feel like I can put my neck out there is I still haven't seen enough evidence that with what we've got, we will fully unlock deep blocks. Like I saw a little bit of variation against Bilbao, but like they were awful and they didn't exactly park it. So like I want to see some tactical variations in how we attack, and I still think we need another left winger.
Did you see what the Bilbao manager said after the game against Shed?
I did see a quote, but it looked like a sort of quote that was made up, so I didn't
Okay, I
really
won't repeat it then, because especially
know.
I've already misquoted someone once already on this podcast. Sorry, Jack. So
No, no,
I'm not gonna.
you can go for it. Like, if it
Well,
was made up, I'll just ignore
I
it.
didn't do the research. I'm not going to bullshit. But the quote that went round supposedly was he was like, "Yeah, Liverpool were great, but Arsenal was the level up."
Yeah, and
Paraphrase.
it was impressive what we were doing, and it's something that I've been crying out for some more diversification in how we attack. So I hope that's something that sustains and wasn't just like a flash in the pan for one game, because that will make me more confident and make me feel like we can go on another run like we did a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, right now, money on the table. Unfortunately, I'm going for Liverpool to defend their title.
I'll go for you.
But is that genuinely so? Like, forget the jinxing thing. Like, who do you honestly think right now?
I would honestly say that this time last year, I really thought you would win it. I don't really feel like that this time. I do ultimately think that it might be decided by injuries. Like if Van Dijk gets injured, I think you become favourites in my
Fair play.
mind. If you're in a position where you lost Gyökeres and it's kind of back to square root one in terms of the nine position, then it's Liverpool. I think it might be like that. It might even be that he needs to do extremely well, Gyökeres, to be a difference maker. Both clubs are going to have integration of new attacking players into their squads. When you're going for a title, it's got to be good.
Yep.
It's not a bedding in process.
Do you think there'll be
It can't be
any?
for the likes of Gyökeres anyway. Really,
No. We've mentioned Liverpool, Arsenal, City. I've seen a few people mention, can Chelsea challenge? Do you see
I,
them
I
going for it?
think that Levi Colwell injury is quite devastating. Actually, I think it's a shame for him because I think he certainly would have been pushing to start for England next summer as well. I think he's Chelsea's most outstanding and most reliable centre back by quite a distance. And I noticed something about him actually doing a little look at some pieces on Jota after his passing, where I was looking back on Jota's performance against Chelsea and his front footedness and his organisation and his position. There was some things I noticed about him because he was in real close proximity to Jota that made me sort of looking at it going, you've got a level up to go, actually, in terms of what you can be. I think it brings a little bit of uncomfort in terms of Chelsea's distribution from that side, unless Cucurella sits in as a left-sided centre back, because I think teams will be trying to bully Chelsea to go down that side, and they'll be strategically pressing to make sure that he's going out via. If it's like a Chalobah or Adarabioyo playing left-sided centre back, it's so clear that opposition teams will hunt that and try and push Chelsea that way. It doesn't mean it work, by the way. And obviously they've signed Hato, who could also
Yeah.
potentially kind of fulfill that role. So I also think Chelsea will go back into the market. But I had a conversation actually with Gary Mantle on a Zoom call with some of our patrons last Friday about looking at profile of defenders in the Premier League for Chelsea to go and immediately replace Colwell. And the only one that really felt natural in terms of distribution as a left footer actually in that makeup actually is Murillo was the only one that I cannot foresee that at all.
Why not?
And quite frankly, for starters, who wants to have negotiations with Nottingham Forest at the moment is probably point A. There's no suggestion that Murillo's been kind of pushing or edging out for a move, etc. I actually saw a really nice interview with him last night. He's like, I've got a goal from the halfway line in my locker, which is what like Mark Summers keeps telling us, like it's coming soon, this worldy goal. And also, we haven't actually seen him in that kind of makeup where he might end up being the left sided of a back three. And then what does that mean longer term? So if you've got Murillo and Colwell, that's almost
Yeah.
too good longer term, if that makes sense. So it's a tricky one for Chelsea. If they can get it right defensively, yes, because I think the firepower has gone up another level where they're going to share more than a burden and there's not quite so much reliability on Cole Palmer moving forward. So a possible, but I think first is very unlikely.
I do think we could be having similar conversations to last year, where that because their fixtures are decent to start. I think they could put themselves in a position where was it around
They're in there. Yeah.
December where we were like, oh, like there's a nice run coming up, could they? And then they had a little tricky period, but I don't know. Like, would I be surprised if they're near top around November? Not at all. When I look at their run, to be honest.
No, but then we were there, like sort of December, like this in
That's
December, we were
yeah,
saying it's probably between yourselves, Liverpool and Chelsea. And they had a brilliant run of fixtures and pissed it up.
yeah,
And the other thing with Chelsea, there's no way of knowing this. By all accounts, they didn't watch either of the games at the weekend. Sounds like fitness levels look really good, etc. They've taken care of themselves. We cannot know if they hit a wall at some point.
yeah,
Might be autumn, winter, spring. Might not happen at all, but we've got nothing on historically to know how difficult it will be for Chelsea to negotiate this season, particularly if, let's be honest, they're very capable of going very deep in the Champions League as well, and what
yeah.
sort of impact that is then having the duel of the two big competitions. Because let's face it, you can walk, if you're a club of Chelsea size, you should be walking through the Conference League, right? So I just think there's a few things that makes me think Chelsea finishing first would be very unlikely. Can't believe that anybody else has got a prayer. Um, Top four in order. Go on.
Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City.
I'll go City above Chelsea at the moment. Um, and I'll go Arsenal first because it just feels like the right thing to do.
It will be so typical, isn't it? The year that like not many people think we're going to do it. That's the year we'll do it.
I will add a note that I've said on several other podcasts. Everybody thinks the top four is a given this year.
It never is that way, is it?
No,
Ever.
no. Every time we've ever sat here, I'll always refer to Ricky Saunders knows this from that correspondent predictions historically. We've had years where like 18 out of 20 correspondents have predicted Tottenham to finish third, and then it's been a disaster. And then we've had years where we've gone and finished fourth, where people have been predicting Tottenham to finish like seventh, eighth. We've had that both way rounds. And yes, historically, when it is this cut and dry, something changes.
Yep.
So who would be most likely to breach that, if anyone, Clates?
Oh, so so I was predicting top five, and I was torn between like Newcastle and Villa, and I know like the mood around Newcastle feels quite negative
It
at the
is,
minute.
but it might change.
Yeah, but like they're not a bad football team. Like I
Of
know
course
you
you're
take
not.
Isaac out, and
But their depth is a major, major issue. Imagine that midfield three got injured.
yeah, but again, you say that with any club, right? If any team loses their first choice midfield three, they're going to struggle. I think they're still a very good football team. That wait, what competition are they in again in Europe?
Champions League.
Champions League, yeah. So that might be a little bit difficult to manage both, to be fair. But and Villa are Europa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and even that the Thursday Sunday thing, because I do think how those two teams manage those two competitions will have a massive impact on them domestically within the league. I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be Newcastle. You know, I just think like I know the mood around the club isn't great at the minute, but I think they probably will look to get someone in if Isaac goes. And I just think Eddie Howe, like they're so well drilled and they're so well coached, and like in the big games they always perform really well. I think that consistency against the lower teams is what might be their downfall. But I think if I had to pick one, I would just edge Newcastle over Villa, to be honest. What about you?
Um, be a big deal to replace Isak. I
Yeah,
expect them to buy two forwards. I think Vissa will be one, and I think there will be another one. How well they do will have an impact on that, and I think ultimately, if they don't strengthen in the midfield area, they really have got to keep them boys fit. And I think Newcastle are at their best when they can play with a high intensity. And we saw 2 years ago that the impact of what happened by them having to play twice a week, admittedly, injuries happened at the same time. So the injury kind of level on that is still really important. But you cannot play at the same intensity in the Premier League that you want to if you've got it's not just the physicality of the Champions League games, it's the mental aspects of it is a really big deal as well. It's a different level up when you're playing Bayern on Wednesday and then come back to Leeds at home on a Saturday. Like suddenly these things just are not as straightforward as they suddenly would be if you went Newcastle got a free week to give
Yeah.
it 100 mile an hour against Leeds. You couldn't foresee any form of different result. So I think there's challenges there. That exists for kind of all of the other contenders. Like even if my team does go and buy Savinho and Eze, for example, we've got to deal with Champions League as well. Villa will probably go really deep in the Europa League. I think they'd be a very capable
Yep.
side in terms of potentially even going all the way in that competition. I think that should be a target for Villa this year. So that gives complications. I actually think if you said to me now one of the top four wouldn't finish there, who do you think is most likely? I genuinely am going to say it's United.
Say
I
that again.
re
If one of the
as
what?
in Manchester United.
Yeah. So I was going to say, could I throw an outside shout? I
I
think with
don't
one
think it's
game a week.
outside now, Clates.
Yeah, I think if they get Belieber, um, who else? They were linked with someone else quite impressive the other day. Forget who it was now, but like one
Imagine
game
they
a
had
week.
Donnarumma and Baleba to this
Yeah,
suddenly.
their forward group. I still think they have to get the centre midfielder, but I think they've put together a decent window there. And yeah, one game a week, I could see them fly up the table. I really can.
Yeah, I think he might be a little bit of a slow start, maybe. I think really importantly, though, the majority of the squad is fit. We also acknowledge they obviously had their own cup kind of extended run last year and also their own injuries. Majority of the squad is fit at the moment. I think when you look at it on paper now, you start going, yeah, there's some real depth there. You start even thinking like Martinez isn't fit. He'll be back in September. That adds another good left-footed option for them in terms of centre back. Then you're looking at going right. It's Martinez, Shaw, Aiden Heavens there as well, who Amrim's happy to use. And I think across the board, you start looking at multiple different options. I mean, fitting in. I mean, the front three suddenly of Cunha, Bumo, Sesko
That's quality.
is so miles away from what they had last year, and it's got Fernandez supplying them behind, and probably Diallo and Dorgu from the wings, and going, yeah, there's potential here.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. What do you think should be a target for them then? Just getting back into Europe?
I think it's that.
Yeah.
I think for United, it's the thing is Manchester United should never go. Oh, yeah, sixth is okay, but after last year, yeah, the target should be top six. I think. I think same with my club. It's a bit more complicated to aim for more, but with the 3 weeks for United, I think yeah, top six and heavily targeting one of them domestic cups as
Yeah.
well should land every chance they'll go and take one of them this year. I think so.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that it needs to click. It would probably take a little bit of while, but their big troubles last year wasn't defensively. It was scoring goals. I mean, how many goals did Cunha, Sesko, and Bumo score last year? I realised they won't all replicate that, but
A
I mean,
lot.
what? Yeah, you know, Sesko's coming at 7.5 in FPL,
I've
right?
seen that. Yeah. When he's kind of fully integrated, I really like that. I think that's a really nice price.
Yeah, I don't think, but it's not one. I've already been asked. I don't think it's one to start. I would be
Nah,
amazed if he started against Arsenal because I just think there's so many things
I don't
tactically.
think he fully trained this summer, did he? In
I don't
pre-season,
know.
I don't think
I
so.
don't know. I think there'll be a build up process, and then yep, he'll be potentially very interesting when United have a good swing of fixtures. I think United probably best of the rest.
Okay. Yeah, don't hate that.
Bottom three. Can you see any of the promoted sides stand up?
I can. So my predicted three to go down are Sunderland, Burnley, and Wolves. I think Leeds will stay. I think Wolves will. I feel like I say this every year with them, and I feel like I've got nothing against Wolves, but just Cunha is a massive miss. Like that. That is so big, and I don't know. I feel like this will just catch them out this season. I feel like they'll get roped into it a little bit. I don't think Brentford will get near the conversation, but I think they'll fall down a little bit as well, having lost their club captain, Bumo, the manager. Um, yeah, but I think Leeds will be the one of the promoted teams that stay up, in my opinion. Although Sunderland's window on paper is quite impressive, but
Sunderland have essentially bought a new team.
yeah, but
Um,
how that translates, I'm not sure.
exactly. Can't know, but it's certainly. I think it's fair to say Sunderland and Leeds have had a go. We're expecting more from Leeds, certainly in terms of like a number nine and maybe even another attacking wide option or a 10 as well. Although probably going to be more 4-3-3 by the looks of it. I don't want to say too much on Burnley because we're playing them this weekend.
No, go for it, please, because
But
I've
I
not listened
can't.
to Clash. I've not listened to Burnley's correspondent week episode.
I just feel like they've. I mean, the fixtures are dire, and actually, Jack made some good arguments in terms of their fixtures on correspondent week. It's not as bad as it looks. He's taking some positivity in it, but I think it looks really rough for their fixtures. I just ultimately feel for the second successive time, the team that starts in game week one, I think is going to be weaker than the team that got promoted.
Yeah.
I can't even really fathom out how that's a bit of it's down to injuries at the moment, and they are trying to get more bodies, but they don't feel like, and it was the same 2 years ago. They haven't got the power to go and spend heavily. They've got to get some more in. At the moment, I can't see Burnley staying up. I hope that's wrong. I've got nothing against them. You can all at me when they win 1-0 at Tottenham on Saturday. There's every chance that will
Well,
happen,
they
by
can
the way.
still win 1-0 and go down, right?
They look that would they look like judging, well, I discussed it yesterday. They look like probably going to switch up to 5-4-1 for the weekend now, and
Okay.
because of the fixtures, I don't think we should rule that out. Probably even sticking for the first couple of months, where that might even just be what they become, kind of batten down the hatches for the first 2 months, and then progress more as the season begins. I think Sunderland is it's unknown. We are literally looking at Sunderland could legitimately pick a team on Saturday of new signings.
I
Near
haven't
enough.
listened to Beery's episode either. How was he feeling about everything?
Who?
Sunderland correspondent.
Spencer.
Yeah, but I call him Beery because that's his Twitter handle.
Oh, I thought you said a Beery. I was like,
No.
I know I've bought a lot of players, but I don't think he's one of them. No, a Beery. Yeah, Spencer's quite common. Listen, if you buy 10, 11 players, it don't matter who you support, you're going to be optimistic about a new season, I think, because you're just massively excited. He's got a click. I think the Xhaka signing is incredible.
Yeah.
That brings experience, leadership, calmness, all the things you'd need. That is an incredible signing. I don't think there's any suggestion that he's had like a major drop off over the last couple of years. Like he's
No.
still a really good footballer. I think that's an amazing signing. It's still question marks about the top end in terms of scoring goals and whether that defense is going to be good enough. It's worth remembering they probably needed to buy a whole new team because they were miles behind Leeds and Burnley last year. Leeds have got to get themselves a nine. They have to.
I think you said they're linked, right? Because I know
But I
Pirro
think
was.
there's encouragement with some of the new midfield additions um, that there's a chance for them. I think they need a bit more. Yes, I think Wolves. You mentioned about Cunha. I spoke about it with Bradley. I'm really concerned about the wing back situation. They bought Mad Wolf, who's obviously going to replace Eight Norrie. They need a right wing back desperately. Can John Arias kind of fill up Femin Lopez fill up the kind of the loss of goals for Cunha? That feels more likely versus the can they maintain the excellent structure they showed under Vitor Pereira without wing backs like Eight Nori, and you forget Nelson Semedo's gone as well.
Oh yeah, I did forget that.
So yeah, I have concerns about Wolves. I would have concerns about West Ham if Bowen got injured
Really, I've seen a lot of people talk about where I'm like,
because I think you couldn't rely on Fulkrug to like pick up the mantle that he would stay fit for all the games. So, but I think they'll be okay. I think West Ham will improve. But it's so difficult when you look across the others because you go, okay, Bournemouth have got defensive problems, but they've still got so much firepower. Fulham, oh, it's the same team. Yeah, but that same team is still a really difficult team to beat. Brentford's a bit of an unknown. I think Everton we feel like will be better. Like it's rough. Wolves feels like the dodgy one. If you pinned me right now, I would assume that Wolves will sort out their problem.
okay,
And I would if you had to pin me right now, I'm going to say it would be the promoted three will go down.
again,
It just feels like the sensible conclusion at the moment.
yeah, yeah, can understand the logic.
Golden Boot, guess a name.
Erling Braut Haaland,
I'll give you a rogue one.
a rogue one. Go on.
Yeah, Alexander Isak. You give everyone a head start.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like,
No, Haaland is the right call. For a Golden Boot perspective, it's the
well,
right
there's
call.
no such thing as a right call. It's your opinion. Do you think Isaac?
No, I think Haaland. We're
What
not
was
ruling Mo out here, by the way. Just yeah,
player of the year?
tough to say, isn't it? Because that ultimately probably be decided a little bit by who wins the league. So, if you win the league, it could be like someone like even like Declan Rice potentially. If Odegaard doesn't regain what we saw 2 years ago, if Saka etc. doesn't hit major goal contributions, could see it being someone like Declan Rice. Liverpool obviously could be Mo. I think Florian Wirtz is a
He
really
looked good.
interesting name to throw in there. What if someone like Marmoush at City has a great season, or if Phil Foden can rediscover himself? I would say if you threw me down the bookies now, cheeky bet, I would say Moises Caicedo.
Oh, I like that. That's a very hipster shout. I like that. He's I was gonna say he's been underrated. I don't think he has. I think he's getting the respect he deserves, but he feels overlooked sometimes. That's a very
I'm
nice
not
shout.
overlooking Cole Palmer with that shout, by the way. Yeah. I think if Chelsea do exceptionally well, he's pivotal.
Yeah.
He's pivotal. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'll throw Casado in there as a kind of a less glamorous pick.
yeah, I like that. I'm going for not glamorous pick for a very. It's a bit of a cop out one, but I think if we were to do anything big this season, he'll be pivotal to it. So I'm going Bukayo Saka. I think he looked very sharp on the weekend, and I think obviously the back end of last season he was coming back from an injury. I didn't think he looked his fully fit self. He looks fit and raring to go, so I think he'll have a good season. Bukayo Saka for me, player of the year.
I'll throw one more in as well as an offensive. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a narrative that builds if they do really well. Is Bruno Fernandes actually?
Yeah,
Because I think there was a lot of push towards the end of last year for him to be in contention from certain aspects of the media because it felt like he kind of really carried United. So I feel like if he's their outstanding performer towards the start of this season, on top of many thinking that he had a big contribution towards the back end of the season, I can see a narrative push for that. And it might be anyway that he plays more as like an eight and looks the outstanding player in that team. We wouldn't be surprised, would be. So I think Bruno Fernandes could be a good contender. It might build a narrative as well. It's like you know what, he's been here like 7, 8 years or so now. He deserves it. I can see a narrative build for that
yeah.
maybe.
Go on. Who's going to be the grown man that wins Young Player of the Year?
Well, many of you know I don't really like Chelsea. They're kind of like my second least favourite team, truthfully. They can fight that out with West Ham. But I'm going to throw another Chelsea name in this because I think one of the real reflections from the weekend um, is that Esteval is likely to be way more involved quicker than we expected. And if I look at someone that might be young who has a real ceiling where we going, wow, in 6 months' time, I think it might be him.
That's a lot. I've got the same one, and I've
Okay.
spent so a couple of the coaches I was with this summer were big Chelsea fans, so they planted his name in my head very early on in the summer, and I was just like, he's a youngster, they won't play, and then you very quickly see, like you say, he's probably going to be involved a lot more. Yeah, I think exactly the same. In a few months' time, we'll be looking at him thinking, oh my word. If I had to pick someone different, uh, Cherky maybe at City, but I'm not sure
It's
he's
not
going to.
young, is it? It's
Is he not?
old.
Isn't he like 22? Oh, I thought he was
No,
quite young.
I don't know. I mean, he's not a baby. Definitely not. Go and check his age. Go on. Give it the old Google, mate.
Is that going to be annoying if people hear me
Yeah, I'll ask you
typing?
about Max Doman while you're typing, mate. Because
Oh yeah, he is. He's 21. I thought he was.
is he only 21, Cherky?
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
thought he
shown
was
me.
22, 23. But oh yeah,
So did I.
Max Dowman, flipping hell, mate. What have we got there?
Oh no, we've got your answer now. We don't care. You can do that chat with Suj
I'll
on
do that with Sid on
Ham and
Thursday.
Arse on Thursday on Patreon whilst I'm on way back from Italy. Okay, we're not going Italy for Euro focus. We're going to
No,
Norway.
we are. This was
But
a. Oh, go on.
before we do, the reason we're going to Norway is obviously we did get confirmation yesterday on the Crystal Palace appeal, which is yes, unfortunately, is failed, which we suspected it probably would. So just to confirm, Crystal Palace will be in the UEFA Conference League. Nottingham Forest will be in the Europa League. That means that Crystal Palace have their first Conference League game in 9 days, and they are highly likely to be playing this team that Clayton's going to be talking about.
Yeah, this team is Fredrikstad FK. Now, this was a throwback, going back and doing my notes from a random European team across the
Someone's just
continent.
gone. Hey, Fredrikstad.
Yeah, get your dad out here, Frederick.
Someone's calling your dad on the podcast.
But yeah, Frederick's dad, aka Fredrikstad, were founded in 1903, 7th of April to be exact. And fun fact about them, they are actually Norway's first football-only club. So I don't know if you remember last year, we were covering a lot of clubs that had like multi-sport origins, and there were a ski club and this and that. There was none of that with Fredrikstad. Yeah, they're Norway's first football-only club. And that partly comes with their nickname. Sorry, and that is partly why their nickname is the Aristocrats, because apparently back in the day, a single sport focus like football was seen as a bit posh. Apparently, they play in a very nice, interesting stadium, the Fredrikstad Stadion, which was opened in 2007. And the reason it's quite interesting and nice is it's actually built on an old shipyard site. So they've kept like a little bit of the original shipyard buildings. So it's quite nice where it's literally built their history into the ground, which is pretty cool. They've been very successful over the years. They've had a few golden runs in different eras and periods of time. They've won 9 league titles, 12 Norwegian Cups, and that's a tie for the all time record. Their main golden runs came in like the late 30s, the mid 50s, and the early 60s. And they've had 4 double winning campaigns, which are in 37-38, 50-51, 56-57, and 60-61. But their main European highlight in the history came way back in 1960. They'll be hoping they can create a new one this season should they beat Palace. But yeah, in 1960, they actually beat Ajax 4-3 at home. They then went to the Netherlands and they drew 0-0 away, which obviously saw them knock out Ajax, which was pretty big back then.
Yeah.
They then had a period where they didn't win a trophy for 22 years, and then they broke that drought in 2006 when they won the Norwegian Cup in a 3-0 win over Sandefjord. And you'd think like, okay, we've just broken our trophy drought, first trophy in 22 years. Is this now going to be the pickup for us? No, it wasn't. 6 years later, they were relegated from the Elite Syrian division, which was in 2012. And then a further 5 years later, they actually fell to the third tier of Norwegian football. They had multiple failed promotion playoffs, which kept them stuck there. But then back in 2023, they were finally promoted back up to the Elite Syrian division. And in 2024, the reason I'll come to this actually. In 2024, they stayed up, but they also won the Norwegian Cup. And on their route to that, they beat their rivals Sarpsborg 08 and then they beat Viking FK in the final. Now, the reason they're potentially going to be playing Palace is because they won the Norwegian Cup. They automatically went into the Europa League qualifying, but they're 3-1 down to FC Midtjylland. And yeah, I don't think they're going to be turning that around. So
No, they lost.
that's
That was at home the first leg as well.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, they will be going into the Conference League. But yeah, I mentioned that semi-final win against Sarpsborg 08. That's their main local derby. So obviously to beat them in the semis en route to winning a cup, which secured them European football, was pretty sweet. But the reason they were, well, obviously it's the main local rivalry anyway. But I think what gave it a bit of an extra edge was when FFK were in the lower league, Sarpsborg were actually in the top flight. So that was something that was a little bit annoying for them to have to watch regularly. In terms of their supporters, they've got 2 main groups. They have got a main ultras group, as a lot of these teams across Europe have. It's called Supras Fredrikstad, which is their main ultras group, and then Brigade Rodhvit, which is another one which was known more so in the past. But Supras Fredrikstad is their main ultras group, and you see they travel around the continent and try and get the flares out and all of that good stuff. But yeah, that's a little bit about them so far this season. Like I said, assuming they lose the second leg, which I think they will, they'll probably be playing against Crystal Palace. So yeah,
Do we know anything about the stadium?
well, other than the fact that it was built on an old shipyard site. I think it was around 2007 they built that. But yeah, it's pretty cool because you can see on the photos where it's got like the original shipyard buildings and stuff where it's been built on top of it. So yeah, but like when you ask, do we know anything about the stadium? What do you mean?
Well, I obviously my club played in Norway, but I realised this was in the Arctic Circle rather than just in Norway. Obviously, we played on Astro. I think this is grass, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. This one's grass.
So that's good news. I think for those who are thinking about Palace assets for FPL, I would not be put off by Palace having these 2 games. Someone like Munoz is just an absolute machine anyway. Maybe a little bit of concern in terms of maybe a workload for Mateta, but I think what will probably happen here is I think Palace will probably pick a pretty strong team in the first leg. I think the benefit of that is they'll be at home on a Thursday. Then we've got another home game in the Premier League on Sunday. I don't suppose they'll be short of motivation for that game against Forest, which aptly falls in the middle of these 2 Conference League games. And
I
I
think
think that they'll be hoping to get that first leg job done and just canter through the second leg, I think.
I stand corrected. It is artificial turf.
Is it?
Yeah,
So that's more reason to get the job done early, just in terms of protecting people in their knees and stuff. Because Nketiah's injured, so
yeah.
you really wouldn't want to be in a position of feeling like you've got to play Mateta in that second leg, as an example. I don't think anybody who's thinking Palace FPL assets shouldn't be put off by this in any way. Ultimately, they're with all due respect, they're seventh in Norway. I think it's a reasonable tie for Palace. I think Midtjylland would have been a
That would have
tougher
been
test
tough.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have still been strong favourites, but it would have been more of a challenge, I think. And Palace should be fine here, and Palace should go really deep in that competition in terms of teams projected to get through. Like, Palace will be one of, if not the strongest in that competition.
Yeah, I've not looked to see who some of the other strong teams because I feel like last
Fiorentina
season
again,
again. Okay,
unbelievably.
yeah, I feel like last season we all just kind of earmarked Chelsea from the off, didn't we? So I've not really looked this season to see who it could be.
So I don't think it's not major clubs from Germany and Spain in terms of projections at the moment. So
What's the deal with the Are England projected to get a fifth place for Champions League? Is that why we did top five?
um, I would suggest that most likely at the moment, fifth will be enough 75% of the time, I think,
Okay.
going forward for Champions League clubs. I think that the reason for that is, and by the way, this Palace game is the most important from a coefficient perspective because your average is so we've got 9 clubs in Europe this year, so 6 in the Champions League, unbelievably, and 2 in Europa, and obviously Palace is 9 clubs. So however well they do, the coefficient averages out. So let's say a Spanish side goes out in the Conference League playoff or Fiorentina goes out. That's catastrophic for like Spain and Italy. Now, if you're looking at it now and you're comparing the different leagues with the others, with Spain, Italy, even like PSG, you'll have certain clubs that you'll think, yeah, they'll go all the way. They could go really deep. But it would be projected currently that all of the English sides would like get out of groups.
Yeah.
Even like Tottenham, if there's concerns about Newcastle, whatever. Whereas that wouldn't be the case with some of the ones necessarily maybe from Spain or Italy, France, etc., Germany.
Just like our league
So,
predictions, though,
so
there'll be a
last
surprise, right?
year, last year it was really clear because like in the Champions League, Bologna bombed, Girona bombed, and Leipzig bombed. So you had like one from the other major leagues was like terrible.
Yeah.
So it like killed the coefficient early on. So like if Palace went out, that's really bad for the English coefficient. If you had that and then say like Tottenham finished in the bottom 12 in the Champions League, then it would be bad. But the year, obviously 2 years ago, Man United and Newcastle both finished bottom of the group in the Champions League, and the English coefficient only just missed out. It's so likely that fifth is going to be enough most
Yeah.
seasons now for Champions League. So for the Uniteds, Villas, Tottenhams, even maybe like your Brightons, Forest, Palace, like that. Don't think the top four's away and you can't get in the Champions League this year. Aim for fifth. I know, I mean, besides law, like my team finished fifth 2 years ago and it wasn't enough, right? But there was a consequence of that, right?
Is this what on this day is? Go on.
No, not at
Oh.
all. We didn't get in the Champions League. We won the Europa League. If we'd
Oh.
have got in
Yeah.
Champions League through fifth, we wouldn't have won the Europa League. We definitely wouldn't have won the Champions League. No, it's got nothing to do with on this day. On this day, we're going to go back to 2017 and we're going to go back to the opening day of the league season. And the lunchtime kickoff was Watford against Liverpool. Any memories, Clates?
People haven't missed this, have they? Any memories?
None.
Nah, nothing. Nah. 2017. Watford, Liverpool. No, not a fucking Scooby.
Well, it was a bit of a classic. It was also Mo Salah's first game for Liverpool in the Premier League, which of course he inevitably scored in. I somewhat laughed at some of my friends who rushed to get them in their FPL teams the following week, only for him to be a substitute against Crystal Palace. It's like, you've overreacted. Yeah, I was chasing my tail quite quickly a few weeks later when it was clear he pretty much had the golden boot wrapped up by Christmas. Yeah, this was a brilliant kind of opening encounter for a 12:30 kickoff. And Watford had spent relatively heavily at this point. For example, Richarlison was a substitute and used off the bench for Watford in this game. So the Watford lineup was Gomez, Yanmat, Cabal, Britos, Holibas. Holibas certainly one who flirted with one or two FPL teams. Tom Cleverley, who was manager of the club very recently. Abdullah Doucouré, who's recently left Everton. Nathaniel Chalobah, who scored for Sheffield Wednesday at Leicester at the weekend, the Championship. Noureddin Amrabat. Stefan Akaka up front. Roberto Pereira. They were probably at that point kind of, I would say, attempting to be upwardly mobile, but it didn't work out. The Liverpool lineup. It doesn't feel like it's has changed as much as we think it should have. I don't think so. Simon Mignolet in goal. Trent played. Joel Matip, Dejan Lovren, Alex Moreno left back. Oh no, it was Alberto Moreno back then, wasn't it? Alberto Moreno, Emre Can, Jordan Henderson, Gigi Ronaldo, Salah, Firmino, Mane,
That
which was
front
obviously
three.
the front three for Liverpool for a good 5 year period or so. But this was still relatively early in Jurgen Klopp's tenure as Liverpool manager. Wouldn't really push for the title until the following year. And there were definitely still vulnerabilities defensively. And they conceded early to a headed goal from Stefan Akaka from a corner taken in swinging from Holibas. Liverpool equalised on the half-hour mark. Brilliant over from Mane, received a return from Firmino, buried it into the far corner. Beautiful equalising goal, but Watford would retake the lead shortly afterwards. Across from the right, kind of half cleared right into the path of Abdullah Doucouré. Had pretty much an open goal, couldn't miss. Roberto Firmino equalised for Liverpool 10 minutes into the second half. With a penalty, yes, Firmino was on the penalty. Mo Salah hadn't quite claimed his king status at this point, but he did win the penalty. And he did get his opening goal for Liverpool only 2 minutes later. Firmino threw 1-on-1 over the top, ball's bouncing, Gomez is coming out of goal, and Firmino kind of dinks it over. It's going just wide. Salah's arriving with, I think, with Holebas right on the back post. He gets there just in time to kind of bundle it over the line, takes the adulation right in front of the limbs of the away fans to give Liverpool the lead and get them off to a great winning start to the season. Except that Watford equalised in the 93rd minute just for shits and giggles. A really strange effort where I think Richarlison had come on and had this shot that Mignolet parried up onto the bar, but it was really weird because Britos was like standing right next to him. But I think he was being played on side because the person who'd gone to close Richarlison was in line. It was almost like a scene at a corner where you get a player back into a goalkeeper. It's a weird one because it's from across. And he ends up pushing it back towards the bar and it just kind of like bounces down the line. As Mignolet turns around, Britos is there ahead of him and just gets his nut down and just pushes it over the line, basically. Cue Marco Silva, who was Watford manager at the time, losing his nut on the touchline. And it finished 3-3. And hopefully we'll get equally good entertainment and drama on the opening weekend this season. Just to highlight a few other results from that opening weekend, because there were a few interesting ones. The league champions are always on telly, aren't they, Clates? They
Uh,
always have a boring, shitty fixture normally, and they're always on telly, and they're normally at home, right?
who was it? Leicester won the league the year
Don't
before that.
Yeah, they were on telly. They lost at Hull.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, the champions. Now, if it was clear within about 15 minutes they weren't going to be retaining it. But the champions this year in 2017 were Chelsea, hosted Burnley. Found themselves.
Oh,
It wasn't on the telly. Found themselves. You're thinking of the Fabregas assist. No, it's not that.
oh, it's not that game.
That was on a Monday night the year before at Turf Moor, and they did win. But Chelsea's champions hosted Burnley, and they were 3-0 down at half time and down to 10 men.
I do
They,
remember that
they
actually.
did
Yeah.
nearly scrape a draw. They lost 3-2 in the end. Alvaro Morata was amongst Chelsea scores. I think he came off the bench and scored pretty much straight away. And we all got sucked into thinking that was going to be Chelsea's number 9 solution. I did actually own him. He got a hat trick at Stoke, I think, a few weeks later, and I did own him, but it didn't last very long. So Burnley won at Chelsea. It was also an opening day victory for Huddersfield, won 3-0 at Crystal Palace on their Premier League debut. Southampton and Swansea drew 0-0. Everton beat Stoke 1-0. West Brom beat Bournemouth 1-0 with a goal from Higazi, who I think proceeded to score in game week 2 as well. And then obviously everybody
See the
that wasn't
bandwagon.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it was like 4.8 by like game week 4 or something. Obviously, did nothing else. And Manchester City won the evening game 2-0 at Brighton on, I think, was Brighton's debut in the Premier League as well.
Who
I,
did
I
we
want to
have?
say Aguero scored, and something that never ever happened again afterwards, a Lewis Dunk own goal. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Were we
Um,
Newcastle away? Aubameyang? Have you got the
uh,
fixtures there?
no,
No.
no. We were at Newcastle
Oh,
the
okay.
next day and won 2-0. So you would have been at home.
Who did we play 2017?
Um, it's not when you lost to City, is it? No, City played on the Saturday.
Oh, was it? No.
Oh, do you know what I think it is? I think you beat Leicester on a Friday night, 4-3.
That's what I was thinking, Lacazette. But then you said
Yeah.
about them losing at Hull.
No, that's the year before.
Oh, right.
We're
Oh,
never
yeah.
champions the year
Yeah.
before.
That's
Sorry.
what I thought it was Leicester, but then
Yeah,
I changed my
Leicester.
mind. When,
So I
okay,
think
yeah.
the Sunday games would have been, yeah, us at Newcastle, and then I'm guessing United against someone.
That's mad. That was so long ago. But when I hear
Can't remember.
2017, I'm like, that's not that far. That's not that long ago.
No, I mean, you see Salah, I mean, he doesn't look any different now, really. He still obviously looks in great, incredible shape. I will repeat what I said yesterday. If you're intending to go with Mo Salah prior to the Community Shield, I suggest you still do.
That
I probably won't, but that was always my plan.
I haven't had him in a single draft yet, and I'm like, that makes me nervous.
I would suggest you look at one.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've only done 2 drafts.
I think I'm leaning more to back than no. But the structure is, I said this yesterday, the structure with Salah, I think, is right, but it doesn't mean there's many different ways to play this game.
Indeed. Lovely
Thank you,
stuff.
Clates. Much enjoyed that, mate.
Yeah, good to be
Um,
back.
enjoy Ham and Arse with Suj on Thursday, and enjoy talking about Tottenham, who will obviously beat Paris Saint-Germain without a fuss tomorrow in Udine.
Safe
I think
travels.
Clayton and James probably will be back next week, but I'm not sure yet. We will confirm. I can say Clayton will be back with us on Friday. We're going to do a really short pod looking at intended final drafts, subject to Friday team news, transfers, etc., etc. Clates, thank you very much. Welcome back, mate. You've been missed. For everybody else, please be nice to each other. Smash a like, hit the sub button, cue music, please. Man child.